All right, buckle up because we have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. Today is November 3rd, Monday, at the time of this recording, and this entire week is going to be loaded with a lot of things, not only from a practical perspective of what events are actually being told on the news and confirmed, but also from a speculative perspective in terms of Q posts as well as what people think is happening behind the scenes. So we're going to go over all of that. Let's get into it. It's going to be a good one. Now, one of the first things that's happening is that starting today, 40 million Americans or more, give or take, are going to see SNAP benefits just basically disappear. Now, at the time of this news, you can see that the Trump administration had agreed to allow certain SNAP benefits to continue. And I'm not sure what it is, but I think at least half of it might be available. And don't quote me on this, but it seems like there is a contingency fund to kind of pay some of the people that really need it. And so I'm not sure how this is going, but this is one of the big key news among the everyday American, and a lot of people were kind of anticipating this to be a very big sort of shock to the system this week starting today. Now, what's interesting is that Secretary Brooke Rollins, who's the Secretary of Agriculture, has gone viral for saying that on the first day of USDA, we told every state to send us their SNAP data so we can make sure illegal immigrants aren't getting benefits meant for American families. And I'm just quoting her post here on Twitter. 29 states stepped up, 21 blue states refused, and 2 even sued them for asking. And guess what? In just the states that cooperated, they've already seen and uncovered massive fraud. So this is big. So there's a lot of allegations here, but at the same time, if they're doing the research correctly, and again, I'm not saying, I'm giving everybody the benefit of the doubt here, but if this is true, this is massive because, again, what is Trump doing in some sense? Yes, it's looking like there's a gridlock and a stalemate, and that's true. But at the same time, Trump is weeding out what is basically fraud with what he did with Doge, as well as just everything happening right now. A lot of people are getting laid off, they're getting cut from their benefits, and just a slew of other things that are happening. Now, since last Friday, the overnight repo market for the banks has literally soared to record numbers. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the banks are trying to keep shorthand liquidity on hand to meet certain obligations. For instance, possibly with the cash demand that people are trying to withdraw funds and just all of that. But there's basically a need for banks to be liquid so that they can attend to the needs of not only the consumer banking side, but also their banking side, their business side, where it may be in the form of investments and making sure that they're liquid in the markets going up and down and just so many things. But the issue or the key point here is that the repo market has soared to record numbers. I think the Fed has lent a total of, it says, 50.35 billion on Friday. So the Fed is literally bleeding dry right now in the sense of short-term repos. And I'm just doing a quick rapid fire here on certain things, but Trump has, again, brought up terminating the filibuster. And again, the theme here is I'm going through a lot of news that, as you can see from the title of the video, it is very impactful for this week, not only today, but the rest of the week. And so when he's talking about the filibuster for the Senate and basically if you want things to pass more easily and you remove the filibuster, you basically get a simple majority to be able to vote. And so the Senate, for example, can, just pass anything with 51 votes. And so this and this has been done before for other issues, but specifically for the shutdown and what's happening right now, if they're removing the filibuster, then the Senate can quickly allow certain things like these policies to happen. And so this is a big deal if it goes into play, because he's, again, ramping up this language to try to get them to do this. And the other big news is tomorrow, Tuesday, the 4th, is election day. And what does that mean? This, looking at New York City, one of the biggest mayor election, dilemmas right now going on with this, so-called communist Mandani and others that are in the mix. Conservative, I think Curtis is the one that might be the front runner here. But basically, if this, could tip the city in some sense and have a domino effect, as well as many other elections. Trump is already, if you just go down his, Truth Social, he's already endorsed tons of people in the congressional districts across the nation. So you can see here, he's just going at it. I think I counted at least 10, 20, 30. I'm not quite sure, but it just goes all the way down. So tomorrow is a big day for voting. And it's not the major ones like with the election cycle for the president and every 2 years, but this is still a big one that we need to pay attention to. And the other big thing here is the tariffs that are going to be ruled on by the Supreme Court. So I think on Wednesday, the 5th, the 5th, there's going to be oral arguments regarding this huge landmark case. Trump even calls it one of the biggest cases that the Supreme Court has to rule on because, again, this will determine billions and billions of dollars in revenue. And so the Supreme Court is hearing the challenges to this whole landmark case. And so we'll see what comes out of it. But basically, it's huge news, waiting in anticipation for what the outcome possibly will be. So I want to show this quick video of this guy, Eugene Kuhn, who talks about what's actually going on in terms of the shutdown with regards to health and all of that. And so I think he has a good summary about this, but it has gone viral, and I think it deserves just watching the whole thing to see what he's saying here, because this, again, is some of the key issues, at least publicly, of what they say is happening with regards to the shutdown and why it's not being fixed, because a lot of people don't really know what's really going on. And this uncovers some of that conspiracy stuff, but also what practically is happening at face value. So let's take a quick listen.
Explosive update on the government shutdown is what I'm hearing, right? So it's not what you're being told. That's all I got to say. The headlines say it's about healthcare and rising premiums. You've heard it all, right? And then Democrats are saying that Trump wants to raise the cost of Obamacare. Well, it's not that he wants to. That's not the full picture. Here's what's actually going on. So when Obamacare, which, as you know, is the Affordable Care Act, first came in, it made health insurance mandatory. But after COVID, President Biden signed new legislation that temporarily expanded subsidies, basically tax credits, to make health insurance cheaper for Americans. Now, these weren't just discounts. And here's how it worked. It's pretty scary to think about it. The Department of the Treasury sent the difference in cash directly to the insurance companies. So if your premium was, let's say, $600 a month, and the new plan lowered it to $400, the government literally paid the $200 difference straight to your insurer. That's billions of tax dollars going out every single month directly to private insurance companies. Those enhanced subsidies expire on the 31st of December 2025, and starting in January, that money stops. And when it stops, premiums go back up fast. Millions of Americans will suddenly see their costs go up by 20 or 30% or more. So we got to do something. So why is Washington gridlocked? Well, because those subsidies aren't just helping you. They're a cash pipeline for the insurance industry. And there it is. It's also free money for illegal health insurance. Boom, there it was. And when that pipeline closes, the insurance companies lose billions of free money. That's why the Democrats are filibustering and refusing to move forward. They're not doing it for you. They're doing it for the companies funding their re-election campaigns and the illegals who they hope will vote for them. Insurance companies, pharmaceutical giants, corporate donors, the groups that pump millions into campaign coffers every cycle is who we're talking about. They're telling the politicians, you either extend this program or we're going to fund your opponent next election. And that's exactly what's happening. The Democrats are shuffling. So the government stays shut down. The American people get held hostage, and the money keeps flowing. Not to you, but to the middlemen. So let's call it what it is. This shutdown isn't about protecting Americans. It's about protecting a cash pipeline from the U.S. Treasury straight into the private corporations and a new voter bloc for the Democrats. And until we break that loop, until citizens start leading, not career politicians protecting their donors, nothing changes. That's the citizen leadership I always keep talking about. Focusing on what's real, following the money and demanding accountability, not headlines. Because the truth is simple. If you're paying the bill, then you deserve to know where your money actually goes. Wouldn't you agree?
So you can kind of see what he's talking about with regards to what's being shown at face value and what their objective is to try to get money funneled to their whole operation. Now, today also is 11.3, meaning November 3rd. Now, there's two interpretations to what 11.3 is. We'll go over both of them here in a second, but either it's for this date or it's for the Law of War Manual 11.3, Section 11.3. But regardless, let's go over it because a lot of Q drops for this week, starting November 1st and all the way through the last few days, and especially at the beginning of the Q drops, starting from 1, happened late October all the way through November, and it's very telling what it's saying. So I'll go over a couple of them that have just been kind of top of mind for me. But 26 says, think about it logically. The only way is the military. Fully controlled, save, and spread once 11.3 verifies as first marker. Now, I'm going to bring this up right now because not only is it 11.3 November 3rd, but also if he's talking about 11.3, the Law of War Manual, then what does this mean? If you research what 11.3 is and actually reading the manual, here I'm looking at what Google and the AI is summarizing, but it's basically saying that it's dealing with the termination of a belligerent occupation, which ends when the occupying power no longer controls a territory or when the hostile relationship between two states ceases. This section, and I won't go too much into it, but this is basically talking about whenever 11.3, let's say in that interpretation of it being the first marker, or when you look at the famous post 34, where it says, and again, I'll just read it, my fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11.4. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided as many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the EBS, the Emergency Broadcast System, during this time in an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. This is the one thing a lot of us are waiting on. If you're talking about 11.3, where the occupying power is removed, and again, we might be talking about the Federal Reserve System. We might be talking about the people that are controlling the money, and we'll get into that here in a second. But 11.4 means that this is for criminal intent. Is it general intent, specific intent? So what they're doing, is it something that we can prove with regards to the intent behind performing this certain act? Remember, Trump rarely talks about some of the debt that's happening, right? It sounds bad because, there's so much skyrocketing debt. But what's happening? Trump is allowing the system to be bankrupted. He's allowing it to crumble on its own. And so this whole debt system, if you talk about debasement and everything from the gold system up to what we are now, gold is up so much, as well as, the cryptocurrency markets and all of that. There's so much going on with regards to trying to move. And again, a lot of finance people have different theories about what they're trying to do. But the big core issue here is that this fiat system is not working. And they're going to be bankrupt after they keep continuing to print money and all that stuff. So he's doing this in some sense intentionally. But I want to show you part of what Joe Lang is saying here, because he provides some good commentary about some of this stuff. And again, a lot of things might go over some people's heads in reading this, in some of the quote-unquote assumptions. But if you know, you know. But he's saying, I think Trump's plan is simple and brilliant. He's not playing by the old rules because he's in control. The Achilles heel of the entire world debt system is the world's reserve currency. And we're talking about the US dollar. Hillary was never supposed to lose. The enemy was never supposed to lose control of the Federal Reserve and the world's reserve currency. Again, think about 11.3 if it's interpreted by the Law of War Manual. Once this whole system is removed and the control, the foreign occupying power is removed, then you can have certain things happen. You can have the military come in and do certain things because without that occupying power removed, you can't do certain things. So Trump used, continuing to read on here, Trump used the enemy's COVID operation as the excuse to declare an emergency, quote unquote emergency. He then rolled the Federal Reserve System into the Treasury, which the president controls. Think about what that means. The Fed has been doing his bidding ever since. The fight between Trump and Powell is, quote, a show. Powell is slow walking interest rates on purpose to help time things. An important Supreme Court decision is coming up, which will set the precedent that Trump has the power to fire Powell and anybody else at the Federal Reserve. That's an important safeguard for the future. In case any other central bank is installed after the Federal Reserve is dismantled, Trump is bankrupting the entire federal financial system by massively increasing government spending. He's maxing out the Federal Reserve credit card, so to speak, to help the American people during this transition and to help rebuild America. The push for AI is to help build the new electric grid that will massively increase electricity supply. That's important. And it's not just about supplying power for AI data centers. It's also about increasing electricity supply in order to put everything, data, on blockchain technology. All data. We are moving from a centralized financial system controlled by central banks to a decentralized system that is transparent, protects sovereignty, and prevents corruption. That's why Trump is pushing stablecoins so hard, and Congress has already passed legislation to implement this new blockchain system. But what most people have missed is that New York has passed laws to force Wall Street banks to implement blockchain technology and prepare for stable coins. They are already implementing this plan, and as the center of the world's financial system, the entire world will be forced to also implement blockchain technology in order to do business on Wall Street. We see governments, central banks, and commercial banks in a mad rush to implement stablecoins and blockchain technology, and the banks are in a panic because they will no longer have a monopoly over the currency because decentralized finance companies are already competing with them using stablecoins. And Trump is also forcing the World Bank to a gold standard. Think about what this means. It's massive. By massively increasing the debt and slapping tariffs on countries, Trump is forcing them to dump treasuries, which forces the Fed to buy the debt instead. The Trump capitulation tour in his first term changed everything. And by that, he means the whole tour he did with the world, going to the Middle East, going to all these different countries, Asia, and all of that. There's a reason why Bessel III was implemented and gold was declared a tier 1 asset. Again, we are already moving the world back to a gold standard. Again, central banks have been buying record amounts of gold for over 4 years, and now just recently, gold has overtaken U.S. treasuries as the largest reserve holdings for central banks. Central banks like India are quickly repatriating their gold from London, and gold has been flooding from London to New York since Trump was inaugurated. Again, a record amount of COMEX traders in New York are suddenly demanding physical delivery instead of fiat cash. The fiat system is already being replaced with the world's financial system. Think about the implications of that. We are moving towards the moment when Trump announces a new gold-backed stablecoin, which will quickly end the fiat dollar. Red states are already preparing by making gold and silver legal tender again. According to the Constitution, only gold and silver are real money, and Trump is taking us back to the Constitution. Timing is everything. The transformation is already in progress, and it will be Trump's decision as to when he wants to revalue our gold reserve and implement a new gold-backed dollar. I think he's waiting for the next bank run. And again, the commentary here was so good. I just want to give credit here to Joe, but it is a huge issue right now of all the strategy. What's going on? Remember, Trump, he just can't project and say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But there's reasons, there's been a plan in place. And Trump and the White Hats, they're trying to stick to this plan because, again, the future of America, the future of democracy, all of that is at stake. So we got to pray. We got to make sure that this is being done. And you understand, again, the everyday person is not going to fully understand, they're going to see maybe their 401k and some of their stocks go up and down, but they're not going to see fully what it is that needs to happen in order to reset for us to go back to a better, financial system than what we have now. Because again, if you keep printing money, if you keep allowing this debasement to occur, you're just going to have inflated, hyperinflation, all of this to basically end the demise of the U.S. dollar and of the future as we know it in terms of the reserve currency in this country. So again, there is some plan in place. A lot of that involves stable coins. A lot of that involves, if you want to say cryptocurrency, but just all of this so that we allow the best being yet to come. So just wanted to give you guys this quick encouraging word. I want to also say that I'm trying to wrap up my fundraiser and get this over the line. You guys know I'm only a few $1,000s short of our goal. I really need to hit this goal, guys, and it allows the funding, all of that to occur, and this next season to really open up, because you guys know doing missions here in Korea, we have so much going on with the legal, the operations, my team that work below me, and just many other things. All the information is in the link down below. Guys, please help me to get over the line here as quickly as possible. GiveSendGo.com/chrisyoonyt. I also have a PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo if you guys prefer that. But right now, would love it if we can get this over the line. Thank you guys so much for the support you've given me so far. But let's really finish this. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.